Yes, it's Burton Warrenton and Guy Ryder here. Both from the Menominee Reservation, and we're up here today. Taking some people around with respect to the proposed Back 40 mine up here in Upper Michigan on the border of the Menominee River. But right now we're standing about, I'd say 75, to 100 yards from the riverbed, and the area we're at is known as the name by 60 Islands area. We had our own cultural names for this area and stories with that, but we're basically on the 60 Islands area of the Menominee River. And what we're out here doing is trying to raise awareness and talk about the potential, or the threats that this potential mine has to our cultural resources, as well as the environment. But today we're going to focus a little bit more on, the cultural and religious resources here on the site that are threatened by this proposed mine.
So that open pit sulfide mine is called the Back 40 project. Aquila Resources is the company that's proposing this project, and they actually own land on both sides of us. We would be within their project area right now. Their open pit mine is I don't know, maybe a quarter mile down the road, if that. And this is one of the areas they call the White Rapids Mound Group, where we're located right here on Michigan side of the Menominee River. One of the things that is really one of the points that we always try to make is that this is a part of a landscape of our ancestors for thousands of years. This isn't just one isolated site. There's sites all along this river that come from our ancestors 10,000 plus years ago. And this particular location right here where we're standing next to our ancestors here is that back in 1956, Dr. Alan Spaulding had taken some of our ancestors out of this very mound right here, and we just got a cultural affiliation to bring them home, which is really good. To think of them coming back to us after all the things that they've been through, And one of the things I wanted to make sure people understand is that these aren't just artifacts. They're not just relics. Like, they're real people. They had lives. They hunted for their food. They had a lot of the struggles that we had. They had families. They had grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, kids. They're not just some artifact to be put into a museum. They're real people, and it very well could be that me and my brother here have direct descendants that came out of here. And some of the other of our relatives that are here today. And this is it. This is the place on this very ground they could have stood. Somebody could have interviewed them a long time ago.
So let's have a look, actually, just pan around and look at this. Can you describe a little bit of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is one of the it's one of the 8 mounds that's in this mound group. But there's really a lot of mounds in here, but they've been segmented by the different people that have studied them. So they name them, Backland Mound Group, this mound group. They're all one complex here, but nonetheless, this specific one was identified to have eight different mounds in this mound group. This is one of the 3 mounds in that out of the 8 that were partially excavated back in 1956 by Al Spaulding from the University of Michigan. And as you'll see, I'm not sure how clearly people could see, but this is one of the mounds that our ancestors were taken out of, excavated out of. And you can see on top of the mound, you're talking 56 to 2017, that long. You can still see where they were dug out.
So where you're looking and you see the tree trunk that's kind of the tree branch that's running across the two mounds there, the gap underneath there is where they excavated in back in the 1950s.
Yeah, and so a lot of times people will say, how do you guys know this stuff? Well, it was documented back in the 1956. So like Anaquit was just talking about here, just recently, within the last month and a half, the tribe put in claim through the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, a federal law, to get these remains released back to the tribe because they're still housed in the University of Michigan. So there's no place for our ancestors to be sitting on a shelf in some dark room. they were put away properly, returned to the earth properly, and they were disturbed. So, these are the type of things that are impacted by the mine here. The proposed mine, if this proposed mine goes forward, these are real live consequences of that. And right now people are, a lot of people say, it's nice you guys make a story up about Indian burial sites, and we heard that before. And we know what's here. And the one thing that helps us sometimes is when there's external justification. We don't need it to know, but a lot of times the community wants that external justification or that external verification. And in this instance, that it's well documented by the scientific community, who had no interest in trying to make up a story to protect a mine that was going to happen 70, 80 years later. These are real live things here that we're trying to protect.
Absolutely, and you said also there's evidence that you actually not just had burial grounds here, but also that you had ancestors that lived right where we're standing right now. So let's wander over and have a look at some of the evidence of that, and we'll continue this little video and just show this beautiful landscape. Actually, as we're walking down here, there's obviously right in front of us as we come down here, there's something that's different to the landscape. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some of what we're looking at on this landscape here?
So what you're dealing with here is what's commonly known as raised agricultural garden beds. So this particular one extends about 3 miles up the river. It was a very sophisticated set of gardening and agricultural techniques done by our ancestors. And what really baffles a lot of people is a lot of people doubted that maize agriculture could happen at this latitude. And there's evidence that our people weren't just hunters, gatherers. We had a sophisticated agricultural traditional knowledge of how to do that here. So you're seeing these raised agricultural garden.
What are we seeing? What are we seeing right here?
This is actually part of an old logging camp. It's actually a little bit more historical than prehistoric, of course.
Okay.
These are borrow pits that they used to build up the berms around the bottom of the actual structure, because they didn't have really a foundation of concrete at that time. They used stones and things. So they
Okay. So let's wander up and look a little bit more at the actual raised gardens, and maybe you can talk a little bit to how you know that they're this old. I mean, are you just guessing they're this old, or is there evidence of them being this old as well? That's going to be another really useful fact when it comes to defeating this mine that's looking to destroy your sacred grounds.
Well, we've been doing a lot of work on our reservation to understand exactly how and what and where our ancestors were growing things. We've done multiple excavations in our garden beds at home to understand exactly how they were doing it. Why would they pick this spot, and what's the reasoning behind it, and what were they growing? We've done a lot of phytolith samples and sent out to various agencies that are, some of that data is coming back of what they were growing, when they were growing it. They can definitely carbon date it to certain times. One of the things that I find real fascinating is that when we first started doing some of these prehistoric garden beds and trying to understand what they call like a site type, is there's some sort of connecting topography, or why would they pick this spot and it's overlooking this river? Yes, it's beautiful, but why here and not over there, or why not over there, kind of a thing. And some of the areas on our reservation, these garden beds go right down into a lowland and almost into a swamp. And one would think, well, why would you put a garden there? Why would it be there? As the data starts to come in and we're starting to understand how they were growing and what they were growing, we start to understand that they were so sophisticated in the way that they grew plants that they could grow them just about anywhere. They could grow them on top of concrete. They could grow them anywhere. By treating the soil the way that they did and the methods they used to not only grow the plant and nurture the plant, but also to work with what the ground gave them and add nutrients and the fire that they used to burn charcoal. It's an amazing feat that they were able to do that at this latitude, be able to grow maize agriculture.
Absolutely, and I mean, with everything that's happening with our variable climate that's happening, we all know a lot of the issues that are happening with regards to global warming right now, and our very hot topic is like climate change and the climate variance everywhere. So is this site significant purely just from your cultural standpoint, or is there a deeper significance at all to this site?
As we've talked about a lot in the past, there's a lot of different people fighting this mine for a lot of different reasons. And one of those reasons specifically, to a lot of people, they'll say, hey, this is a garden bed, big deal. It's not, doesn't deserve protection. So, the scientific community and some of the archaeological community, they want to preserve this to be able to study it. Because one of the interesting things is, not only did the maize agriculture happen at this latitude, which a lot of people doubted it could happen, they were gardening and doing these techniques through the Little Ice Age, and a lot of these different climate change type things. So they were so in tune with the environment. They weren't doing Facebook Live and caught up in technology. This was their technology. It was traditional technology. They were so connected to this earth that they knew how to get through these tough time periods, and whether it's a drought, floods, all of these different climate change. So climate change isn't something new. The climate's been changing for a long time. But a lot of that scientific community wants to study this stuff and understand how was it, what kind of technology, what kind of methods did our ancestors use, and it's very sophisticated, and we don't fully understand it, even being Menominee, we still don't fully understand the techniques our ancestors did, because I'm on my phone 10 hours of the day. I'm not out here. So but as the climate in the world changes, these types of things may greatly help mankind or society in the future. So there's a lot of people that want to study this, preserve it, to study and really be able to understand why were the techniques done, and the understanding of this stuff's only in its infancy at this point. We've still got a lot more to learn.
Absolutely. So is this another case of the indigenous nations holding that key to being able to lead society back in the direction that's going to be able to bring us back to connection with Mother Earth, and to once again realize our true connection to everything? And yet again, we've got the profit over people mentality that's coming in and effectively risking losing a key to the future mankind's survival.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. It's worthy of study to understand that. Can this save mankind in the future? We don't have the foresight, to be seeing to the future to fully understand that. But we definitely think, with everything going on, it would be prudent and wise for our society as a whole to understand this. And not only just indigenous things, there's, everybody's indigenous to somewhere. So people often tend to think indigenous people are just, what are known today as Native Americans, or, people indigenous to America. But, there's people all over the world that had technology, and people obviously lasted this long. There's reasons why. So there's a lot of sites, not just indigenous, that are worthy of study and preservation, to understand, how does society go back to being connected to the earth, that we're fastly depleting the resources. And, it is part of a bigger, paradigm of what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And then for everyone that's watching, if they want to learn more, can you just give them a good website to go to with the Back 40 mine?
Yeah, so like I said, there's a lot of different opposition groups, but we're affiliated down with Menominee Tribe. The Menominee Tribe has a specific website on the Back 40. It's www.menominee www.back40.org. So it's www.back40.org, and the 40 is 40, not spelt out.
Thank you very much.